So I was watching this TED talk way back, and it just, like, when we were doing this podcast, it just came to my mind. So there's this two conflicting theories, and one of them says that a human body or a human existence is merely what we experience. So it's a body, it's a mind with a body. So whatever we experience physically is what we are and what defines our existence. Whereas the alternate theory is that a human experience is essentially a mind which has been given a body to experience everything, but you can take that mind out of that body, and that is the real you. So essentially the soul. So for like a religious person, that would make sense, that, you know, a body is just a vehicle, our actual existence, our consciousness is the mind itself. But from a scientific perspective, you would say that because if you close your eyes, you don't disappear, right? You still exist. You can feel your existence, meaning your existence is what you feel, what you interact with on a daily life. So which side would you swing? Let's just like forget about religion for a second and just like logically speaking.
Obviously, I believe as well that we have a soul that's essentially attached to our body, and I like to think of it as driving a vehicle.
Right.
You know, it's literally like you climb into a vehicle, you become one with the vehicle, but you are not the vehicle.
Yeah.
But saying that, I think that our existence is very specific. I think that God has very specifically engineered our existence,
right,
so that we feel suffering, we feel pleasure, we feel all of these things, and this is it's very intrinsically designed into our specific body.
Right.
So it's not a matter of unplugging our brain and plugging it into a computer and then we can be like a 6-armed robot.
So let's say if that can happen, because there are companies working on it. Let's say we come up with a technology that can actually download us.
No, to me that is like mark of the beast territory.
Right. So now let's say if that happens, does that then disqualify the theory of God in itself? Then you'll be like, there's no such thing as soul, because you are a USB right now.
Well, have you ever watched Altered Carbon?
Yeah.
Amazing show, man. Amazing show. The amount of philosophical questions that show raises, you know. Look, I think it's pseudoscience, to be honest. I don't think we will get to the point where we can actually like digitalize our brain. I just don't think it can happen.
Right.
Our brain is an incredibly complex computer, capable of doing things when you talk about computers can do these massive calculations that a human brain can only hope to do, it's like, sure, if you're talking about maths.
Yeah.
But I mean, right now I can feel the aircon on the back of my neck.
Yeah.
I can feel my toenail scraping against my sock, dude, because I didn't clip it properly.
Okay.
You know, there's so many things. I can feel this underneath my hand. These are calculations that I don't think you can simulate in a computer so easily.
Yeah. But let's say we can't do that, but we create a software, we create AI that eventually reaches a point where they're pretty much like us. Like, you have computers that are like 50 times smarter than us, not intelligent but smarter, and then they can simulate emotions, they become aware of themselves, right?
I mean,
what do you make of that?
I don't think that's real yet, right?
It is there, but
the artificial intelligence is able to write its own code and stuff, but I don't think it's sentient.
It's not sentient. It's more artificial intelligence right now it's like trial and error. It goes through all the errors, uses its memory to then next time not go through them and choose the right one. So for example, a robot would just keep bumping on the wall, but an AI would bump once, learn that this is not the right way, bump here. Do you get it? So magnify that to a more complex equation, and that's what. But let's say, hypothetically speaking, if that happens, what?
It's hard to.
Do we consider that a living thing?
It's hard to say. Hypothetically, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I just have these thoughts at 3 a.m.
I know. So it's hard to have these hypothetical discussions and ground them in reality, because by that means we can say like, hypothetically, God presented himself in the room here right now physically, and he's like bestowed us with superpowers.
Yeah.
So it's hard to imagine what you would be like in that situation.
Yeah.
But hypothetically, and again, because it's so hypothetical, it's just so detached from reality, like you can't really associate with the idea. But if that were the truth, then yeah, I guess that would essentially kind of disprove God.
Right. What do you think about cloning? Because it's a similar situation, right? You're taking
Cloning what?
humans.
Cloning humans?
Like, would they be considered a living thing, religiously speaking? Like, would they have a soul?
If they, so my definition of a soul, and this is something that I guess is why vegetarians and stuff hate me.
Right.
But I believe that your ability to discern right from wrong is what gives you a soul. You know, if you look at an animal, a dog will go and murder another dog, and murder another 10 dogs, and just be okay.
Yeah.
Because they don't sit there and be like, man, I just murdered Spots. You know. Damn.
That's not true. The dogs do feel empathy.
They feel a minute sense of emotional.
It's just less intelligent.
I don't think that's true. Like, I mean, we've done scans of the brain.
Yeah.
And we've determined that, like a dog will feel sad if the owner dies or something, but not to the extent of decision making. Every single animal runs entirely on instinct.
No, I disagree. How much time do we have?
We don't have too much more time, so we might have to save this
let me give you one example. So there's one bird, I forgot the name. What it does is it works with another species. There's a lot of species like that work with another to get food. So it will signal, I think, a raccoon or something, that it's hungry. And normally the birds warn the raccoons or whatever that animal is if there's snakes nearby. So they help the birds as well find, let's say, the food source.
Yeah.
And if
it's like what do they call it? Not
it's
synergy.
Codependence or something like that. So if
Symbiotic. Yes.
So
symbiotic relationship.
So when the raccoon does that, again, it's not a raccoon, it's probably a ferret or some other animal. The bird then leads it back to a fruit or something as a reward. But some of the times they don't do that. They lead the bird into somewhere where they can't find the food. As a punishment, the bird then leads the same animal to a honeybee's nest. So the bird has the decision of he's done something evil to him and he's gonna face, so the revenge, and I think that's a sign of intelligence.
I mean, sure, I'm not. I think that it's coded instinct. I mean, if you look at animals across the board, their behaviorisms are so homogenous that you can almost not distinct one from another. Like you can. I mean, animals have, and this is what's interesting, having my belief system is that animals have different personalities.
Yeah.
But animals, in terms of the way they exist, is pretty much homogenous. You take a cat, it's going to hunt things.
Yeah.
You take a dog, it's going to chase things. You take a rhino, it's going to charge things. They have a very homogenous, if you find a hummingbird, it's going to behave the way a hummingbird behaves. It's almost like like a coded intelligence.
Right.
We're learned animals. We literally have to be raised for 18 years, and we need to be taught how to do this. We need to be taught how to do that. The way you live your life is very different to the way I live mine. True. And the way we live our lives is very different to the next person. But the way a deer lives a deer's life is very similar to the way its parents lived its life and the way its parents lived its life. And so it's like a coded intelligence. It's operating entirely on instinct, and they may have minute emotions and they may have minute intelligence, but it's nothing compared to ours, not even close.
I agree with that, but I don't think that necessarily warrants a soul. But again, that's something we can never know.
Again, the discernment between right and wrong is how I discern a soul. And I don't think animals can make that distinction. Like you won't even hurt an animal unless you're like sadistic. You're not going to hurt an animal because you know the thing feels pain. Whereas a bird will go and murder everything, dude. So I think that is to me that is why animals. That's the motivation in my mind of why animals don't have souls. So anyway, I think we need to
pick a topic.
No, we have 5 more minutes if you want to keep going on this topic.
Do you think our ability to keep a record of our emotions or of our information makes us better in determining right or wrong as compared to an animal? Let's say if we were a tribe somewhere secluded in the Amazon rainforest and uncontacted, and we have seen that we'll still remain in that level because we haven't yet developed language and ways to keep information that helps us learn. Like you said, right? 18 years
in the terms of good and bad?
Not just good and bad, in terms of just being better than other species.
Oh yeah, of course, right? Man, of course. I mean, 90% of This I learned this from a book called Thinking Fast and Slow. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I
Amazing
think
book.
yeah,
Amazing
I want to
book.
read that. I've heard
like
that.
a incredible economist, man.
Right.
Just seriously next level. And he says that pretty much. Okay, I'm misquoting the book because I read it like 5 years ago. But
Right.
he's like 90 or 95% of our action in the world is associating it with past events.
Right.
You know, like you can do a business plan at work well because you've done 50 before. So you're just like, okay, what makes a good business plan? And then you recall on your past experience. That's why writing is so damn important. That's why remembering history is so damn important, because we're just, it's pattern recognition. You're living
That's
life.
the sign of intelligence, right?
Pattern recognition, and then you're able to make decisions based on a pattern that is recurring. And you're like, okay, like, you know, if you see a stone in the road, you know, you touch that stone, what's going to happen, you know? Whereas if you don't know what's going to happen, you might just go over the stone.
The reason I bring that up is, again, cut this short, but octopus are one of the very few animals where scientists have seen that kind of, like, the level of intelligence that they have, and the only reason they probably don't evolve or don't come to our levels because they're not able to pass down that information. And some scientists are now convinced they're aliens, like they're not from this planet. Because that's
Well,
how.
have you seen them?
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Like they
attach it.
change shapes, they change color, they
Amazing
learn
animals.
everything
Amazing
on the go.
animals. But again, I believe if they were intelligent enough to pass down knowledge, they would have been intelligent enough to find a means to store and pass down knowledge.
Yeah, could be.
So
Or
I mean, there's
but that's
societies. There's societies in there's human societies that never learn to pass down knowledge.
Yeah,
you know, and because they never learn to pass down knowledge, they're repeating the same mistakes.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So.
Or maybe it's also because they're not a herd species, right? They're like, so octopus don't really go in groups. They're always secluded. So that could be a reason.
If they were intelligent enough, they would have said, you know what, the strength in numbers.
Yeah.
So.
No, but they are smarter than majority of the species.
No, they are like sure, but I mean,
what if we train them?
I wouldn't mind a pet octopus, man. They're amazing.
We raise like an octopus army of the future, man. Imagine them having a country and everything.
I was snorkeling once in Salt Rock near Mpangeni. It's like 100 kilometers, and I was snorkeling there, and I was looking at all these rocks, and then this tentacle just wrapped around my arm.
Shit.
It is the weirdest feeling thing. And you know, it's kind of spooky, but I'm not sure what I should have done. I don't know much about octopus, but I was just calm. And you just feel a suction, dude, all around your arm. It was so cool, dude. Anyway, and then this thing, it was like black, and then it moved over the sand, and then it became like the color of sand instantly. It's freaky, man. It's so cool. Shit. I hope that you enjoyed that snippet out of Couch Conversations. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to watch the full video, I will link it down in the description for you. Thanks for watching. Back in the studio.